मातरम् सृजलां सुफलां मलयज शीतलां सस्यश्यामलां मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् सुप्रज्योत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी पुल्लकुसुमिता द्रुमदलशोभिनी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी सुखदां वरदां मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्। धन्यवादः महोदय।
धन्यवादः महोदय, वसुन्धरा महोदय।
अस्तु महोदय।
I request now Visadakshi Mahoday to do prarthana.
ओम शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम्। ओम श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु। ओम श्री महासरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान् मा प्रमदः। ओम मातृदेवो भव पितृदेवो भव आचार्य देवो भव अतिथि देवो भव। ओम असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। सदाशिव समारंभां व्यास शंकर मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरु परम्पराम्। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः।
धन्यवादः महोदय. Now I'll request CSR Prabhu Garu to start his session, please. Or to unmute, please.
योगांगानुष्ठानात् अशुद्धिक्षये ज्ञानदीप्तिः अविवेकाख्यातेः. So by practice of yogangas, because in the sadhana pada, tapaswadhyaya, isvara pranidhana and kriya yoga, the practical aspects have been discussed. So yoganga anushtanat ashuddhikshaye, all the impurities will be destroyed. Jnana deeptihi, and therefore jnana will be enlightened. Avivekakhyate, until the viveka comes by itself. So what are the yogangas? You all know the ashtangas: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhayo, ashtavangani. What are yamas? Yama does not mean kalayama. We are talking of controlling principles. Satya, ahimsa, brahmacharya, asteya, aparigraha, yamaha. This is the next sutra. There is a lot of similarity of the Yamaniyamas with the Buddhist Jain principles of Dharma framework. So they comprise Dharma. And the same principles will also be there in the law of any country. Satya, ahimsa, brahmacharya, asteya, aparigraha. You know that these are the 5 universal principles. They have been elaborated in detail, in depth in the Buddhist texts, in the Pali language, and in Jain texts also, because they are controlling principles. So now there is an interesting statement by Panchasikhacharya. Sakhalvayam Brahmana yadha yadha vratani bahuni samadhi sate tadha tadha pramadkrutebhyo himsani nidanebhyo nivartamanaha tameva avadatarupam ahimsam karoti. So ahimsa, which is the first ahimsa paramodharma, a brahmana who performs various activities may accidentally indulge in some himsa. That's why the Jain Munis keep one mask in front of their mouth, so that the air from their mouth will not destroy the microorganisms. And they also sweep the floor before they put the step on the floor. And they eat only fruits which have fallen from the trees. They are called sramanas. You might have seen them here and there. Ahimsa stretched to the maximum extent. So a brahmana who or a sramana who performs, of course, he is not talking of brahmana only, not sramanas, who performs various activities by and therefore may result in unexpected, unplanned, unwarranted himsa. The sin of that can be overcome by the various tapascharya's. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijigupsate. So the greatest motivation, justification for ahimsa is you see oneness. When I see each one of you as myself, equal to myself, I empathize and feel like you, then I will not hurt you. I will not perform himsa on you. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanataha tatra ko mohakka shokaha ekatvam anupashyataha. He who sees oneness will not have shoka and moha. All problems in this world are coming due to lack of this enlightenment of oneness. So ahimsa in the body level, in the words, in the thoughts. So himsa in the words also is condemnable, and himsa in thoughts also is condemnable. Today, you see a lot of himsa around, and it is all due to lack of self-realization of oneness. The fights, the wars, all are due to delusions and lack of self-realization of oneness of the entire existence. Now coming to Satyam. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, asatyam apriyam. You shall speak truth. You shall speak pleasantly truth, and you shall not speak untruth. and you shall not speak untruth or truth unpleasantly. You can speak truth pleasantly. Now the third is brahmacharya, and of course satya is just not only speaking truth, but it is the law, satyam rutam, the universal law on which the universe operates. Satyenothapita bhumihi. This earth is held up by satya. This is a quote from Atharvaveda. Satyanna pramaditavyam. Taittiriya Upanishad we have seen. So satya is the ultimate truth. Truth is the ultimate principle, the ultimate value to be upheld at any cost. We know the stories of Harishchandra, and we know many other stories. And what is surprising is these Yamaniyamas are prescribed not only in Hindu scriptures, but they are also prescribed in Buddhist, Jain, and even Sikh, and even Muslim and Christian and Judaic scriptures. Thou shalt not kill, one of the 10 commandments. Instead of saying no violence, he thought only killing is violence. It's a little crude, but at least that much has been prohibited. And you shall not tell lies, you should not cheat. This is also mentioned in the commandments in the Bible and also in Quran. In fact, I have done a project called Dharma Yoga. This is for the special focus of scholars who are sitting here, top scholars like Vishalakshi Garu. We have spent 5 years to compile the scriptural references to Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Parigraha, Shaucha, Santosha, Tapaswadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana, and also total 18, not just 10, taking from the Daivi Sampat. The Dharma Lakshanas of Manu, Dhrutik Kshama, Damas, Shaucham, Asteyo, Indriya Nigraha, Dhir Vidya, Satyam, Akrodho, Dasakam, Dharma Lakshanam. So these 10 principles and Yamaniyama's 10, Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Parigraha, Shaucha, Santosha, Tapaswadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana, and the Daivi Sampat in Shodashodhyaya, Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitir Dhanam Damascha Yajnascha, Swadhyaya Stapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha, Tyaga Kshanti Rapaishunam Daya, Bhutesh Alolutvam Mardavam Hri Rachaparam Teja Kshama Dhriti Shaucham Adroho Na Abhimanita. So these 26 Daivi Sampat include the 10 Yamaniyamas and 10, almost all the 10 Dharma Lakshanas. So out of this 26, we have taken minimum 18 and made a big table. And with the help of the scholars of various scriptural religions, we have compiled their references. And surprisingly, shockingly, never understood till now that the same 18 principles are present in all the religious scriptures except Ishvara Pranidhana, which is missing in the Buddhist and Jain scriptures because it is theistic. You have to accept Ishvara first. They don't accept Ishvara. And other atheistic darshanas like Charvaka, Lokayata, they also don't accept Ishvara. But all these schools of thought, they accept the 18 principles of Daivi Sampat or Dharma Lakshanas or Yamaniyamas. So in those 18, 10 are the most prominent. In those 10, first 5 Yamas are universal. So what he is telling here is Jati Deshakala Samayan Avachinna Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. Sutra number 31. So these 5 principles, Yama, Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya, non-stealing, thou shalt not steal, even the Bible says. And thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, Brahmacharya. And also Aparigraha. These 5 principles are known as Mahavratas. Jati Deshakala Samayan Avachinnaha. Anavachinnaha. They are unaffected, unbroken by time and location or by class. Jati, Desha, Kala, Anavachinna, Sarvabhauma, sovereign. the sovereign values, universal values. So these universal values are upheld by one and all, theistic and atheistic philosophical systems, judicial jurisprudence, legal jurisprudence, Roman jurisprudence, English law, Indian law, any country's law will uphold these 5 principles. And in fact, the law was born out of this. That's why the bench of a justice is called Dharmasanam. Dharma Devata is there in every court who is blind. So these 5 principles of yamas, they are called yama because they control. Samyama, niyama. Kala yama is control of time. There is no person like that. It is time which controls. Now coming to niyamas, shaucha, santosha, tapas, swadhyaya, ishvara, pranidhana, niyama. Shaucha, these are not compulsory universal requirements, but they are recommended like directive principles of state policy in constitution. They are not fundamental rights, but they are directive principles of policy. So in that way, the niyamas, shaucha, santosha, tapaswadhyaya, ishvara, pranidhana, they are recommended directive principles. What is shaucha? Purity. Purity in physical body, outside and inside of the body, which is done by yoga kriyas, and also by cleaning nose, eyes, and all that, plus external purity of taking baths in Ganga and other rivers. And this is only physical purity, but then we have the mental and speech purity also. Shaucham, bhava samshuddhi, shaucha santosha tapaswadhyaya ishvara pranidhana niyamaha. Pranidhanani niyamaha. Swadhyaya is what we are doing now, studying good study, studying spiritual texts, not junk books. If you read junk books like novels, your mind will also become equally junk. The load into your mind is based on what adhyanam you do. Ishvara pranidhana, tapas is the highest. Tapaswadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhana, and kriya yoga. Those 3 are actually taken from niyamas, adding the shaucha and santosha. Santosha anuttamam sukham. That is natural happiness. It's your birthright to be happy. Like small kids are happy, you can also be happy. It is your birthright to be healthy and happy. Happiness is a mental health. Physical health is also your birthright. So birthright is your health and happiness. And yoga is a process of realizing that birthright. Brahmacharya ahimsa cha satyasteya apargraha seveta yogi nishkamo yogyatam manasonayan swadhyaya shaucha santosha tapamsi niyatatmavan kurvita brahmani tadha parasmin pramanam manaha. Now there are many techniques in yoga to clean the body inside that all come under shaucha. We have got stomach cleaning, intestine cleaning with water, nose cleaning, eyes cleaning with water. Dhautir vastir tadha netihi naulika statakas tadha kapalabhatis chetani shatkarmani samacharet. Goraksha Samhita, Gorakhnath has clearly mentioned the Shatkarmas. Shatkarmas are Dhauti, Vasti, Neti, Nauli, Trataka, Kapalabhat. Chaitani Shatkarmani Samacharet. Shatkarma Nirgata Sthaulya, Kafadosha Maladika, Pranayamam Tatakurya, Danayasena Labhyate. This is Hatha Yoga Pradipika. By cleaning the body with the 6 kriyas, only then the body is fit for pranayama. pranayamena yuktena sarva roga kshayo bhavet. All diseases can be cured through pranayama. But the prerequisite for pranayama are the shat karmas: cleaning nose, stomach, intestines through various kriyas. It is all under shaucha, we can categorize. Tapas, we have seen already in Bhagavad Gita, 3 types of tapas have been mentioned: physical, oral, and mental tapas. Now, vitarka badhane pratipaksha bhavanam. Vitarka himsadaya krita karita anumodita lobha krodha moha purvaka mrudumadhyadi matra dukha ajnana ananta phala iti pratipaksha bhavana. The pratipaksha bhavana is the opposition. Pratipaksha means opposite point of view. All these himsa and other the opposites of yama and niyama, they are called pratipakshas. All these things, that is the abrogations of the yama niyama principles, himsa and asatya and so on. If they are conducted or performed directly or indirectly, krita karita. I don't tell a lie, but I will make my servant tell a lie that I am not there at the house when I am there. Krita karita anumodita. I don't tell lie, I don't make others tell lie, but I accept when others tell lies. Or I don't perform murder, I will make somebody else perform murder, or I will accept when somebody else makes perform murder. Lobha krodha moha purvaka, due to greed, due to delusion, or due to anger. Mrudu madhyadi matra, either little bit or medium. Dukha ajnana ananta phalaha. All of them will have a backlash. And the backlash is sorrow and ignorance. Ananta phala, that is endless backlash. This is pratipaksha bhavanam. Now what will happen with the establishment of successful levels of high levels of these yamanemas? Ahimsa pratisthayam tat sannidhau vairatyagaha. In front of such a person, even natural enemies will give up enmity. Who are the natural enemies? Is it husband and wife, or brothers, or it is like snake and mongoose? Even they will give up their hatred in front of a person who is really established in ahimsa. In front of Ramana Maharshi, snake used to come and sit. Even some wild animals were coming and sit. In front of Buddha also, snake came and kept the umbrella over Buddha. So that is the proof. The proof of the pudding is in eating it. If you are really thinking that you are established in ahimsa, in front of you, those who are fighting like dogs, either husband, wife, or brothers, or enemies like Russia and Ukraine, or NATO and Russia, they will also give up their hatred and violence. Satya pratisthayam kriya phalashrayatvam. A person who is established in Satya, he will automatically get the results of all good karmas. Asteya pratisthayam sarvaratnopasthanam. A person who is really established in Asteya, automatically various precious stones and various wealthy items will come to him without stealing. Brahmacharya pratisthayam virya labhaha. Virya is a semen. So males who establish in themselves in brahmacharya, the virya will be saved, and virya saving will mean a lot of improvement in the health conditions, strength, and morale. Aparigraha sthairye janmakadha janmakadhanta sambodha. A person who is established in aparigraha, he will automatically know his purva janma. Shauchat Sangajugupsa Paraira Samsargaha. If you are really pure in your body and mind and your dealings, you will feel disgusted with your own body because it is full of filth. And also you will not like to become physically close to crowds. All our quarantine concepts of COVID are valid in Shaucha. Sattva Samshuddhi Saumanasya Ekagrendriya Jaya Atma Darshana Yogyatvani Cha. It's not just that. It's not just quarantine, but also Sattva Shuddhi, purity and strength. Saumanasya, pleasant mental state. Ekagra, concentrated. Indriya Jaya, self-control, conquest of all senses. Atma Darshana Yogyatvani Cha, also self-realization only by purity. And this is mentioned in all scriptures of all religions. Paranchikhani Jatran Swayambhus Tasmat Parang Pashyantinantaratman Kaschid Dhiraha Prachagatmanam Ekshad Avritta Chakshu Amrutatvam Kathopanishad. So purity is given the highest importance. Purity of physical, mental, and spiritual levels. Santoshad anuttama sukhalabha. Natural happiness. Obviously, it is pleasant. Kayendriya siddhir ashuddhikshayat tapasaha. By tapasya of various kinds, pranayama is also tapasya. Yoga sadhana is tapasya. The third month, we are going to do all the yoga kriyas and asanas and pranayamas. They are all yoga sadhana. They are all tapasyas. What will happen? Kayendriya siddhi ashuddhikshayat. Tapasya is like burning flame of fire. All the impurities are burnt away. Yesterday also we have seen through pranayama all the impurities are burnt away. Kayendriya siddhi. Kaya siddhi. Full success, full perfection in the body and in the senses, 5 senses. Swadhyayad ishtadevata samprayogaha. So by doing swadhyaya, the result proof is ishtadevata samprayogaha, sakshatkara. Samadhi siddhir Ishvara pranidhana. So Ishvara pranidhana leads to samadhi siddhi. Now coming to the asanas, sthira sukham asanam. Asana is defined as an asana which is fixed, stable, and comfortable for a long time. Because what is the purpose of asana? To perform dhyana and to reach samadhi. So you require a stable pose. Though there are a large number of asanas, 4 are the stable poses: Padmasana, Siddhasana, Vajrasana or Bhadrasana. And so these stable poses, and Sukhasana, of course, which we all normally sit called hospitalist kuchodon. So these 4 asanas are meant for meditation purpose because they are stable, sthiram, sukham asana. But in order to be able to sit in those 4 asanas stably for a long time, you need to practice other asanas which will make your body fit. Otherwise, your body is full of diseases and death nearing by. How to live long, healthy, and happily is possible through Hatha Yoga. Asanas are the crucial content. Whole world today, there is hardly any human being who exists who does not perform yoga as asanas. And we have a large number of asanas. And I'm going to teach these asanas in the 1-month course. I don't want to teach them now. And then, of course, we have Surya Namaskaras and we have so many other asanas. In fact, in this book, a lot of asanas pictures are also given. Sthira Sukham Asanam, but all these asanas are meant for making the body fit for various asanas. And on each basic asana like Padmasana, there are 1 dozen asanas. And on Vajrasana, there are another half a dozen asanas. Prayatna Saithilya Antya Samapatti bhyam prayatna shaithilya, that is without any effort, ananta samapatti bhyam अनंत्य समापत्ति द्वारा आसन सिद्ध होता है. So that is, by practice you become perfect in the asana. Tato dvandvana abhigataha. A person who is established successfully in one asana also will be unaffected by dvandvas, pain and pleasure, heat and cold. Tasmin sati shvasa prashvasa yoga gati vichhedaha pranayamaha. Tasmin sati shvasa prashvasayoh gati vichhedaha pranayamaha. What is pranayama? On the asana, when the breathing is regulated, it is called pranayama. Bahyantara sambhapo vrittihi deshakala sankhyabihi paridrishto dirgha sukshmaha. The kumbhaka, rechaka, puraka. Kumbhaka can be internal or external. Bahyabhyantara stambha vrittihi deshakala sankhyabihi, depending on the time durations, counting and location of the concentration. Paridrishto dirgha sukshmaha, it can be long or short. With such small formula in number 15 Sadhana Pada, Patanjali has encompassed the entire science of pranayama. The entire science of pranayama is encompassed into just 3 sutras. First is Tasmin Sati Shvasa Prashvasa Samyogaha Gati Prasa Prashvasa Yoh Gati Vichhedaha Pranayamaha Bahyabhyantara Stambhavrittihi Deshakala Sankhyabihi Paridrushto Dirgha Sukshmaha is the second sutra. Similarly, for all the big asanas, large number of them he has finished with only 2 sutra, 3 sutras on asanas. The entire pranayama he is finishing with the third sutra, Bahyabhyantara Vishayakshepi Chaturdha. There is a fourth type of pranayama other than Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, which is called Kevala Kumbhaka or absorption towards Samadhi. And of course, the pranayama comprises of Kundalini awakening. Kundalini awakening leads to Kundalini arousal from Mooladhara to Swadhisthana to Manipuraka to Anahata to Vishuddha to Ajna to Sahasrara. In Sahasrara, it is Samadhi state. Tatakshiyate prakashavaradam. What is the effect of pranayama? Tatakshiyate prakash avaranam. The enclosure of the prakasha will be destroyed, will be removed. Dharana sucha yogyata manasaha. And the mind becomes fit for dharana. Friends, it is not a casual concentration. It is total concentration. Pranayama is prerequisite for concentration. And pranayama is possible only after its prerequisites are met, asanas and also kriyas of cleaning the body. So we teach these things in our institute, Vishwa Yoga Vidyapit. We have learned it from our gurus, the Guru Parampara coming from one side, Dhiryan Brahmachari Vishwayatan Yogashram, Maharshi Kartikeya, and the other side from Bihar School of Yoga, Swami Satyananda Saraswati and Swami Shivananda, and the third side, higher yoga from Swami Shilanand Bharti coming from Bade Dhuniwala Samsthan in Khandwa. So these are very advanced institutions in yoga. They are leaders in the world in yoga. And I am so lucky to have been the disciple of these 3 lineages of gurus. And I salute to all our gurus, the Guru Parampara, which gave me this opportunity to learn this vast subject, the greatest subject, the science of yoga, which I will be teaching to you in the 3rd month for whole 1 month. Tata parama vasyatendriyanam. So pratyahara is the next to pranayama. Svavishaya samprayoge chittasya swarupa anukara iva indriyanam pratyaharaha. Withdrawal of the mind from external activities of the senses into internal introversial activities is called pratyahara, and that leads to vashyatendriyanam, complete conquest over the senses, indriyas. Tatah parama vashyatendriyanam. So this is the pratyahara, it is over. The sadhana pada is over. Now we go into the third chapter, which is the starting of higher yoga, that is dhyana and samadhi, vibhuti pada, deshabandhas chittasya dharana. What is dharana? What is concentration? It is fixing the mind on a particular object, either internal or external. Tata pratyekatanata dhyanam. And what is dhyanam? Continuous flow of mental energy is called dhyanam. Tadevardhamasa nirbhasam swarupashunyamiva samadhi. The same dhyana where only the object and the subject are merged into one. Swarupashunyamiva, as if you are lost, absorbed. Absorption is called samadhi. And samadhi is the final consummation of all yogic efforts. Trayam ekatra samyamaha, all three put together, dharana, jhana, samadhi, is called samyama. Tajjayat prajna lokaha. So by conquering, by transcending, by achieving perfection and then transcending, conquering this samyama, then you have your prajnaloka. Tasya bhumishu viniyogaha. All siddhis will be possible to be achieved in different levels. Trayamantarangam purvebhyaha tadapi bahirangam nirbijasya vyuthana nirodha samskarayor abhibhava pradurbhavo nirodha kshana chittanvayo nirodha parinamaha. I am skipping some of the very advanced philosophical yogic aspects. Tasya prashantavahina samskara sarvardhairekagratayo kshayodayo chittasya samadhi parinamaha. They're all very advanced levels of samadhi. And I wonder, without reaching samadhi, how it is possible to have self-realization except in theory. So all the speakers of Upanishads who give big lectures, they have no experience, but they just tell as a theoretical exercise. Tatah punah shantoditau tulya prachayo chittasya ekagrata parinamaha etena bhutendriyesh dharma lakshana avastha parinama vyakhyata. These things are very advanced topics we cannot cover in this short time. They will take months and years. So I am skipping some of these things. Shantodita vyapadesya dharmanupati dharmi. The commentaries of Vyasa Bhashya and Vijnana Bhikshu and Bhoja, they will have to be studied. They are available in this book. Kramanyatvam parinamanyatve hetuhu parinamatraya samyamat atita anagata jnanam. So parinamatraya samyamat, by performing samyama on the evolutionary changes, incremental changes of three types, you can know past, present and future. What we have not understood in the last few sutras is the rational logic, the phenomenal description behind what is called parinamatraya and samyama on that. That is, samyama is dharana, jhana, samadhi together. That will give the ability to know past, present and future. Atita anagata jnanam. Shabdardha prachayanim. Itaretara samskara sat pravibhaga samyamat sarvabhuta ruta jnanam. and he is explaining the mechanisms which is beyond us to understand. By performing samyama on that, it is possible to know the languages of all beings, animals, birds. Even Janaka knew the languages of ants also. There is a statement that he was in his house, he saw one long queue of ants, and he knew the meaning of the language of the ants. Then he laughed once, and his wife asked, "Why are you laughing?" He said, "One ant is telling that king ant will be there. When there is a table or some kind of an furniture obstruction to the queue of the ants, they reported to the king ant or queen ant what is to be done. They gave an order, you remove that obstruction." So Janaka laughed. These are not jokes or these are not lies. Whatever is being explained by Patanjali Maharshi is absolute truth. These are siddhis, vibhutis they are called. Samskara sakshat karanat purvajati jnanam. By focusing on the samskaras, you know the previous life of that person. Because the previous life samskaras gave rise to this life. So he will be behaving accordingly. His thoughts and words will be accordingly. Pratyayasya parachitta jnanam. Finding out what is happening in others' minds is also possible. Kaya nachatat salambanam tasya vishayi bhutatvat kaya rupa samyamat. Now antardhanam, how to become invisible. Kaya rupa samyamat tad grahya shakti stambhe chakshu prakasha samprayoge antardhanam. He will perform samyama on the viewers, observers, visibility capacity, visible power. I mean the ability to see. And with that, the fellow cannot see. Antardhanam. Sopakramam nirupakramam cha karma satsa samyamad aparanta jnanam arishtebhyo va. Also knowing about evil phenomena, evil events that are going to happen. Arishthas. Maitriyadishu balani, baleshu hasti baladini, pravritya lokanyasa sukshma vyavahata, viprakrishta jnanam, bhuvana jnanam, surya samyamat. By performing samyama, dharana, jhana, samadhi on Surya, you get the knowledge of the planetary emotions, bhuvana jnanam. And similarly, Kanthakupe Shutpipasa, by performing samyama on the throat, he can overcome the thirst and hunger. Chandre Taravyuha jnanam. By performing samyama on moon, he knows the motions of the star constellations. Dhruve tat gati jnanam. We know that Dhruva nakshatram is supposed to be fixed. But if yogi performs samyama on Dhruva, even Dhruva's motion can be observed. Nabhi chakre kaya vyuha jnanam. Samyama on Nabhi chakra will give the understanding of the entire Kaya Vyuha, what is happening inside. Without cutting, you can understand. Kanthakupe kshut pipasa nivrittihi kurmanadya sthairyam. By performing samyama on kurmanadi sthairyam, murdhajyotishi siddha darshanam. By performing samyama on the jyoti on the top of the head, he can get the darshana of siddhas. Siddhas are there in various places. They are not visible to common people, like in Tiruvannamalai or Srisailam or other mountains. Pratibhadva sarvam. He can know anything and everything by pratibha, by jnana, intuitional insight. Hridaye chitta samvit. By performing tapas samyama on hridaya, the entire thought processes can be understood. Sattva purushayor atyanta sankirnayo pratyavisheshako bhoga parardhanyasvardha samyamat purushajnanam. Purushajnanam is also possible to be achieved. Tata pratibha shravana veda vedana darsha aswada varta jayante. te samadha upasarga vyuthane siddhayah. But please note, he is telling all these siddhis are obstructions. So the Siddha Purushas, we know so many of them. So all the common folks will go to them, say that he is avatar, he is God, and they will praise him, he is God. Like that, they are praising Sai Baba, they praise somebody else, because they performed certain miraculous things by showing their powers. So the bandha karana saithilyat prachara samvedanacha chittasya parasharirāveshaha parakaya pravesham. It is not just a myth, it is real. He is explaining the phenomena behind it, but we are not able to understand. Bandha karana saithilyat, that is by destruction of or dissolution of the bondage with the particular body. Prachara samvedanacha chittasya parasharira aveshaha. The chitta can enter into others' body. We know so many stories of parakaya pravesh. Udana jaya jala panka kantakadishu asanga utkrantischa. Flight above by conquest of Udana and going above the thorny bushes or water or slush. Samana jaya jvalanam. If you have conquered Samana Vayu, then burning will not affect. Bahirakalpita vrittir mahavideha tata prakashavaranakshayaha sthula swarupa sukshmanvayardha tvat samyamat bhuta jayaha. Conquest of all Panchabhutas. These are all reaching towards Ashtasiddhis. Tato animadi pradurbhavaha kaya sampat tad dharma anabhighatascha. Unaffected by any element. Animadi Ashtadha Siddhis. Anima, Garima, Laghima, Mahima, Prakamya, Ishatva and Vashatva. Rupa, Lavanya, Bala, Vajra, Samhanatva, Kaya Sampat. What is Kaya Sampat? Beauty, strength. Vajra Samhananatvani. Even with Vajra Ghata, it is unaffected. Vajra Sharira, like Hanuman is having this. Vajranga Bali means Vajranga. Vajranga is nothing but Vajranga. His body is like diamond, so hard. Even diamond cannot affect. Vajra Samhanadatvani. Hanuman's body is being explained here. That kind of siddhis are there. Grahana Swarupa Asmitan Vayardha Tattva Samyamadid Indriya Jayaha. Sattva Purushanya Akhyatya Matrasya Sarva Bhuta Adhishtatritvam Sarvajnatrutvam. All knowing Ishatva, that is Sarvabhava Adhishtatritvam Sarvajnatrutvam. Tad Vairagyadapidi Dosha Bijakshaye Kaivalyam. So even after all this siddhis, Kaivalyam will be possible only through Vairagya and Dosha Bijakshaya. That is, even the seed of impurities, when they are destroyed, Kaivalyam Moksha will come. Sthanjuvan Primatrene Sangamasya Punarani Anishtha Prasangat Chanat Kramayo Samyamat Vivekajam Jnanam Jati Lakshana Deshair Anyatan Avachhedat Tulyayostaha Pratipattihi Tarakam Sarva Vishayam Sarvadha Vishayam Apkramam Cheti Vivekajam Jnanam and Sattva Purushayo Shuddhi Samye Kaivalyam iti. What is Kaivalyam? Sattva Purushayo Shuddhi Samyam. Sattva is taken to be as Chitta and Purusha is Parapurusha Prakriti division. So when you know that you are Purusha, when your Chitta is absorbed into Purusha, Asangoyam Purushaha, this is the last sutra of Sankhya Darshana. When you know that you are not concerned with Prakriti, but you are just Purusha, then you are in liberated state, Kaivalya. Now Kaivalya Pada, Janmaushadhi Mantra Tapas Samadhija Siddhayaha. These siddhis can be achieved by Samadhi, what has been explained till now, and also by tapas, and also by mantras, and also by oshadhis, magical plants. And these are all described in Atharvaveda and Tantric texts. Janma, by birth itself, some people get some siddhis. Jatyantra parinamah prakritya purat. Nimitta prachayojegam prakritinam varna bhedastata kshetrikavat. So he is taking a stand that if you remove the obstruction, like field, if you remove the obstruction, water will automatically flow because water is already coming. So in the kshetrikavat, like a farmer, you remove the obstructions, then you get automatically moksha because you are already purusha only. Nirmana chittanyasmin matra dhyanajam samadhijam yat chittam tat panchasu madhye anashayam karma vasana rahitam ityarthaha. Bhojas vritti is there. Pravritti bhede prayojikam chittam ekam anekasham tatra dhyanajam anashayam. So the after siddhis, the kaivalyam is the object. Jati desha kala vyavhatam apyantad smriti samskarayo ekarupatvat tasam anaditvam chasho nityatva. These are very, very abstract, advanced levels which cannot be understood theoretically. It has to be understood only through experience. We have not reached that level to understand this. We are just getting a rough idea in this class. Vyasa has commented on this also. Vijnana Bhikshu and Bhoja Tippani. So I am skipping many of these things which are very, very advanced. Parinamekatvad Vastutatvam. So he's talking of natural evolutionary trend. How the jatis evolve. Sada jatihi chittavrittayaha tat prabho purusha sya aparinamitvat. Purusha has no parinama. Purusha has no evolution. Na tat svabhavasam drishyatvat. Eka samaye chobhaya navadharanam. Chitta antaradrishye buddhibadhe ati prasangaha smriti samkarascha. Chitte raprati sankramaya tadakarapatto swabuddhi samvedanam. Drishta drishyo paraktam chittam sarvardham. So it's very advanced things. We are not going to go into the details and depth. Just we are trying to reach the conclusion finally. Vishesha darshinaha atma bhava bhavana vinivrittihi. So basically, realization of the self as the supreme self. Aham Brahmasmi. That how that entire thing happens is explaining. Prasankhyaane apyakusidiye sarvadha vivekakhyate dharma megha samadhi. There is one dharma megha samadhi tata klesha karma nivrittihi. So in that the kleshas will be removed completely. Tada sarvavarana malapetyasya janasya anantyajneyam alpam tata krutardhanam parinamakrama samaptir gunanam. So he will cease to evolve. He has already evolved to the maximum. Shana pratiryogi parinama paranta nigrahya kramaha. Shana pratyogi parinamo aparanta nigrahya kramaha. Purushartha sunyanam gunanam pratiprasavaha kaivalyam swarupa pratisthava chitti shaktiriti. Kaivalyam is swarupa pratistha, being established in your own true nature. This is the 34th sutra of the last chapter of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Purushartha Shunyanam Gunanam. When the gunas, trigunas, have no object, pratiprasavaha, when they get absorbed in their own causes. Kaivalyam Swarupanishtha va Chiti Shaktiriti. Chiti, Chit is consciousness, being established in Chit is Chiti, Shakti. This is Kaivalyam. Being established in the self is Kaivalyam. So I have finished so to say, finished the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It requires more than a lifetime study, and many lives will lead to that kind of a level. How much time we have, Babgar? Can we take up Vaiseshika today?
Yeah, Vaiseshika, how long it takes?
No, how much time we have now?
Half an hour.
Okay, fine.
But no, you need to have question answer section also.
Yeah. Well, friends, I'm happy to show you this book, The Physics of Vaiseshika by CSR Prabhu, published by Venkateswara Vedic University, Tirupati. Can you see this? So I'm going to cover this. I have spent a long time, 15-20 years, in deciphering the physics in Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada. In the entire Sanskrit literature, there is no other book except the Kannada's Vaiseshika Sutras which is giving physics. And nobody in the last 5,000 years has interpreted entire physics out of it. And here I showed only physics and nothing. Many books have been written as commentaries to Vaiseshika Sutras, but they are not showing any physics in it. They are giving philosophical description. So this book has got a foreword by a great scholar of modern times, Subhash Kak. And the Vaiseshika is one of the last 6 of Darshanas, not last, but along with Nyaya. So I will just give the summary of it first. Vaiseshika of Kannada, which I covered in my introduction. One of the 6 schools of Indian philosophical thought. The other 5 being Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Purvamimamsa, and Uttamimamsa, Vedanta, concerns itself with the physical reality. It deals with the characteristics of the physical entities, their properties, their interactions, including forces and motions of various types. Vaiseshika is called Padartha Shastra, or science of substances or material entities. It concerns itself with the modeling of the physical world in terms of its own laws of fundamental physical entities, physical behavior, finally culminating in the atomic theory of the universe. As basic physics, Vaiseshika formed the foundation of ancient applied sciences such as Ayurveda, medicine, and Shilpa Shastra, or engineering. Or Vastu Shastra is also engineering and architecture. Modern science or Western science, originating in Europe in 17th century, comprises many branches. Among the large number of branches of science or physics is commonly identified as the most exact of all sciences. Physics is the study of the physical world in all its forms and manifestations. Physics depends largely on mathematics as a tool for analysis. The quantitative aspects of the physical world are expressed in mathematical form, thereby enabling physics to describe the physical phenomena in the most exact manner. Thus, physics is the most exact of all sciences. Physics deals with the most fundamental entities of the physical world: matter, energy, space, and time. And all the sciences concern themselves with the physical world, whose building blocks, molecules, atoms, and particles are the subject of physics. Thus, physics is the most fundamental and exact of all sciences in the modern times, and physics has 2 parts, the classical physics and the modern physics. In the present context, we are largely focusing only on the classical physics on historical grounds. While the Vedas contain knowledge of all subjects, Vaiseshika is a branch of knowledge of Veda corresponding to the physical world in ancient times. Vaiseshika Darshana is the oldest known text of a science which deals with physical world. In other words, physics is the science of the physical world of the modern times, and Vaiseshika Darshana is the science of the physical world of the ancient times. Both physics and Vaiseshika Darshana have a single common interest, that is the physical world. The constituent entities of physical world, their qualities or properties, and their interactions, including forces and motions, these are the subjects common to physics on one hand and Vaiseshika Darshana on the other. So the title of the book, Physics of Vaiseshika, indicates that this book concerns itself with those aspects of Vaiseshika system which are concerned with the science of physical world. So as the first step in development of any science is the identification of fundamental categories or the taxonomy of the Vaiseshika Sutras, The Kannada's model of physical reality are 6 fundamental categories: Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Samavaya, and Vishesha. The word Vaiseshika comes from the word Vishesha. Dravyas are substances. It can be matter, energy, space, time. And gunas are their properties, properties of matter, properties of energy. Karma, the motions. Karma in Vaiseshika does not mean the same meaning given in other darshanas. Here, the word karma simply means motion. Along with associated fundamental abstractions of motions, including forces and so on. And then the fourth substance is samanya, that is generalization hierarchy or abstraction. And fifth is vishesha, specialization hierarchy. I have already explained to you the other day what is generalization, what is specialization. Even in computer science and object classification, we have generalization and specialization, object classes and object types. Samavaya, inherence, and finally vishesha is fifth. Samanya and vishesha are opposite to each other. Specific, generalization, samanya, specificity is vishesha. And samavaya is inherent quality of something, inherence. So the physics of Vaiseshika brings out the physics of Vaiseshika Darshana. Among 10 chapters of Vaiseshika Darshana, only first 5, which are dealing with subject of interest of physics, are covered word to word translation in this book, along with the commentary. And in the rest 5, only summary is being provided in this book, because those 5 chapters are not dealing exactly with physics, but with other subjects. But whatever little they are referring to physics has been summarized in the last portion of this book. In the 5 chapters, Vaiseshika's view of the physical world is brought out clearly. It comprises the fundamental entities, matter, energy, space, and time, their interactions through various forces, gravitation, electricity, magnetism, various types of motion, and various states of matter. Vaiseshika models of the physics in terms of eternal atoms as the ultimate building blocks of the universe, atomic theory, which continued unaffected till 18th century. Dalton's atomic theory is just a continuation of the Vaiseshika atomic theory. While the historians of science are generally unaware of the contribution of ancient India to physics, historically Vaiseshika was merged quite unfairly with Nyaya. Anyaya was done to Vaiseshika by merging with Nyaya or logic. While it is true that both have together a lot in common, Vaiseshika, the science of physical world or physics itself of the ancient world, has its own independent and exclusive status. We cannot say physics is nothing but mathematics, which had been sometimes denied by the logicians, especially in the Middle Ages. While Nyaya concerns itself with the epistemology of the process of acquisition of valid knowledge, Vaiseshika concerns itself with the ontological aspects, taxonomy, or the constituents of the universe. Sankhya also deals with fundamental categories as they arise in the space of mind, the Panchabhutas, but Vaiseshika deals with substances, the recognition of a substance as against only an abstraction in the mind is done first in Vaiseshika and not in Sankhya. In Sankhya, the fundamental categories, they arise in the space of mind, that's all, and therefore has correspondence with Vaiseshika. While the Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada are of great antiquity, of a period of very remote time, belonging to the post-Vedic but pre-Puranic age, what is usually known as the Sutra period. Its extant commentaries belong to a period of recent origin, in the last 2000 years only. Even though the time period of Kannada's Vaiseshika Sutras is not known with certainty, a Chinese tradition describes Kannada being of great antiquity, of at least about a millennium before Buddha. So Buddha today is identified around 1900 BC. So we put 1000 years more. So that's around 3000 BC, 2900 BC is what we are talking about. Kannada, the Sutrakara of Vaiseshika Sutras. Unfortunately, the series of successive commentaries of the earlier periods are not available anymore. They have been lost or destroyed. There was a large time interval between the original Vaiseshika Sutras of Kannada and the commentaries, starting with Prashastapada around 5th century AD, whose book I have depended heavily, who had also names as Prashastamati and etc. while we lost most of the early commentaries, including one Katandi and one Vritti by one Bharadwaja and one commentary by Ravana. I don't know which Ravana is. The earliest text we have today is Prashastapada's Padardha Dharma Sangraha. This text is not exactly a commentary to Vaisheshika Sutras, but it is one of own independent status as a respectable text on Vaisheshika Darshana. Prashastapada also wrote a different text, which was the actual commentary to the Vaisheshika Sutras, known as Bhashya, Vakya, or Tika, which is not available today. Therefore, we are forced to depend upon the existing Padardha Dharma Sangraha, which I depended upon. After Prashastapada, the commentaries on Vaisheshika are found from the more recent periods of times. A Kiranavali by King Udayana in 11th century AD on Prashastapada's work. Upaskara of Shankara Mishra of 15th century AD as a commentary of Vaisheshika Sutras with heavy dependence on Prashastapada. Atreya wrote a Bhashya to Vaisheshika Sutras where the critique was given by Vadiraja, the great Dvaita philosopher saint. If not all the works are in references to Vaisheshika are available, traceable to scholars of Nyaya. The same scholars of Nyaya wrote commentaries to Vaisheshika, and the names of such people, for example, Annam Bhatta, Tarka Sangraha, and Mallavadi, Murari Mishra, Chakradhara, Simhasura, and Sri Vallabha, Raghunatha, Raghurama, Jairama, Veni Datta, and Ujjotakara. Some of them had access to some of the last ancient commentaries, which we don't have access today, but they had access at that time, like Katandi and Vakya. And Udayana refers in his Kiranavali to Vaisheshika's Bhashya as being very extensive, and the same is ascribed to Ravana by Padmanabha Mishra in 16th century in his Kiranavali Bhashya. None of the commentaries post Prashastapada attempted a physics-based interpretation because there was no understanding of physics. Physics itself originated 150, 200 years ago in Western world and imported into India. Vaisheshika Sutras, as they were not too clouded to be dominated by Nyaya logic, Prashastapada, who is the oldest of the commentators available today, is held with high regard. Now I will go into the sutras themselves, having explained the basic principles. Now the chapter 1, part 1, Adhato Dharma Vyakhyasya. Now we shall propound Dharma. We shall comment upon Dharma. Adhato Dharma Vyakhyasya. So all darshanas are supposed to explain Dharma, but with different perspectives. That's why there are different darshanas complementary to each other. Yato Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Siddhi Sadharmaha. Dharma is defined by Kannada as that which will lead success in material progress as well as spiritual enlightenment. Yato Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Siddhi Sadharmaha Tadvachanad Amnayasya Pramanyam. Being Dharma Vachana, Amnaya, that is Veda, gets its Pramanya. So, what is Veda? Vedo Akhilo Dharma Mulaha. That is, all dharmas are in Veda. So, being Dharma Vachana, Veda becomes Pramanika, a standard reference proof for Dharma. Dharma Vishesha Prasudat Samanya Vishesha Samayanam Padardhanam Dravya Guna Samanya Vishesha Samayanam Padardhanam Sadharmya Vaidharmyabhyam Tattvajnanad Nishreyasam. How are you going to get Nishreyasa? Moksha? By understanding the interactions of Dravya Guna Karma Samanya Vishesha Samaya. Dharma Vishesha Prasutat, having born from the special qualities of Dharma, Dravya Guna, substances, their properties and their motions, and generalization, specialization, and inherence. Sadharmya Vaidharmyabhyam, similarities and dissimilarities, understanding those. Such a Tattvajnana, getting the Tattvajnana of that physical phenomena, you will get Nishreyasa. Lo and behold, friends, Kannada is declaring that in this sutra, which some people say was a Prakshipta, but we have no proof either way. We take it as Vaisheshika Sutras. You can get moksha through physics by understanding the interactions of Dravya Guna Karma and Samanya Vishesha Samvaya. Prithvi Apastejo Vayu Rakha Shatikala Mana Atma iti Dravyani. What are Dravyas? Prithvi, Apa, Teja, Vayu, Akasha. What are these things? They cannot be mapped directly into modern framework of classical physics, but there is a rough correspondence, but there is more to it that I have brought out. Like in Veda, each one of the dravyas become, except Akasha, a Devata, Prithvi Devata, Vayu Devata, Agni Devata, Tejo Devata. So these Devatas have been personified in Puranas, Bhu Devata, Agni Devata, Vayu Devata, etc. But they are all subjects of nature whose properties are explained. So Prithvi, Apa, Teja, Vayu, Akasha, Dik. There is a difference between Akasha and Dik. I have deciphered with all evidences that Akasha refers to ether and Dik refers to Cartesian space, direction. I spent 15-20 years studying various texts. I might have referred to more than 100 texts. I might have met a large number of scholars all over India. Of course, outside India, they don't exist in this subject. And after doing all this, I came out with my own interpretation in terms of physics. And I remember one Professor Piali Paul in Jadavpur University advising me not to study deeply the Nyaya-based commentaries to Vaiseshika because they are biased and I will not be able to have my original thinking, which is physics-based. Therefore, I could interpret physics. Otherwise, I would have repeated like a parrot what the false interpretations of Nyayikas on Vaiseshika were made. So now, Rupa Rasagandha Sparsha Sankhya Parinamani Pruthakvam Samyoga Vibhago Paratva Paratvascha Buddhaya Sukhadukhe Ichhadvesho Prayatnascha Guna. What are gunas? Properties. Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Sparsha. Shape, form, figure, or taste, smell, etc., etc. Counting, measuring, separating, and conjunction. Samyoga is conjunction. Nyaya is inherent in Vaiseshika. Samyoga, Samavaya, all these are Nyaya Sambandhas. Samyoga Sambandha, Samavaya Sambandha. Samyoga Vibhago, Paratva Aparatve, nextness, previousness. Because we normally assume next and previous taken for granted. Here it's not, everything is being defined. Sukha Dukha, Vichhadvesha, Buddhi, all these are Prayatna or Gunas. And Utshepanam, Avakshepanam, Akunchanam, Prasaranam, Gavanam. What are karmas? Upward motion, downward motion, contraction, expansion, broadcast, transmission, and general motion. Utshepanam, Avakshepanam, Akunchanam, Prasaranam, Gamanam. And Gamana Visheshah, Gamana Grahanat, Brahmana, Rechana, Syandana, Urdhajvana. This is Prashastapada. What is Gamana to be taken as? Gamana Grahana, Brahmana, rotation, Rechana, expulsion, Syandana, viscous motion, Urdhva Jvalana, upward burning flame, Tiryak Patana, falling down, Namana, bending forward, Unmana, going up like eyelids. These are all Gamana Vishesha, different types of motions. Sad Anityam Dravyavat Karyam Karanam Samanya Visheshavati Dravya Guna Karmanam Avisheshaha. Now again, he is going into very deep levels. What is Sat? Existence, made up of Dravya and Guna and Karma. Karma Karma Sadhyam Na Vidyate. And I am showing one by one the laws of physics, law of conservation of matter. Na Dravyam Karyam Karanancha Dvadhati. No material entity or substance destroys itself and its own cause and effect. This is law of conservation of matter. And impossibility of perpetual motion, Karya Virodhi Karma. Motion is the opponent of motion. Motion is the enemy of motion. Properties of substance, Kriya Gunavat, Samavayi Karanamiti, Dravya Lakshanam. Dravya's Lakshanas are, it should have Kriya Gunavat, it should have some qualities, and it have inherence, Samavayi Karanam. And properties of a quality, Dravya Asray Gunavan, depend on a substance, Samyoga Vibhageshu, Akaranam anapeksham iti gunalakshanam. It is unaffected and it is not a cause for conjunction or disjunction. And properties of motion. What is a motion defined as? Ekadravyam, on one substance. Agunam, no qualities. Samyoga vibhageshu anapeksha. Karanam is a neutral cause for conjunction and disjunction. Karma lakshanam.
Prabhu garu,
Yes.
we have another 15 minutes.
No, I'll take another 5 to 7 minutes to complete this book. After that, we'll spend about 7 minutes for
Okay.
Dravya guna karmana, dravyam karanam samanyam, tadha guna. So this will go on like this, starting with numbers. Dvitva praprathi sankhya prathakva samyoga vibhagascha. Defining 2, 3, 4, he is giving apart from unity. Now the first law of motion, inertia. Asamavayat samanya karyam karmana vidyate. Due to not being inherent, motion does not exist as generalized effect always. Now, upward motion. Gurutva prayatna samyogat ukshepanam. Ukshepanam is upward motion. It will be possible with the conjunction of prayatna against gurutva. Gurutva prayatna samyogat, conjunction of gravitation with effort. Obviously, when effort is more than gravitation, there will be upward motion. Now, causality principle. We have been discussing in many lectures the rationality of Hindu thought, the rationality of Sanaatana Dharma. Karanabhavat karyabhavaha. This is the first sutra in part 2 of chapter 1 of Kannada. There is no effect without a cause. That means nothing happens without a cause. That is the causality principle, which is the bedrock of all science and rationality. Now, what is generalization and specialization? Samanyam vishesha iti buddhapeksham. Existence as generalization. Bhavo anurtireva hetutvat samanyameva. Dravyatvam, gunatvam, karmatvam cha samanyani visheshancha. Class hierarchy. Anyatra antrebhyo visheshebhyaha. Except the leaf nodes, all others are levels of expansion of the tree hierarchy. Existence is defined as sat iti yato dravya guna karma susa satta. Having dravya guna karma, that which exists in them is called satta. The notion of existence, dravya guna karma bhyo ardhantaram satta. And one existence alone exists. Saditi linga vishesha, vishesha linga bhava, cha eko bhavaha. He has understood that existence is only one. Then, of course, in chapter 2, he explains the gunas. Ruparasa gandha sparshavati prithvi. Ruparasa gandha sparsha, they one by one, they reduce. Tejo rupa sparshavat. Sparshavan vayuhu, only one sparsha is there for vayu. And akasha, na vidyate. No gunas exist for akasha. Sarpi jatu. Now, the liquidity. Sarpi jatur madhu chishtanam agni samyoga dravatvam dravat adbhi samanyam. Liquidity, when melt, he is explaining various things. When they melt, they become liquid. Trapu, sisa, loha, rajata, suvarnanam agni samyoga dravatvam adbhi samanyam. So even metals, gold and lead and copper and so on, when they are melt, they become liquid. So he knows the 3 states of matter. And now we will go to the part 2 of chapter 2. Again, we'll skip much of it because we don't have much time. We'll go to chapter 5, which is dealing with the force and motions, the most exciting part. I will go into the last chapter to give the atomic theory. Sadakaranavat nityam. Chapter 4 is giving atomic theory. The Sat is eternal and causeless, and it is made up of the atoms. That is, ultimate existence is made up of atoms. He has given this theory where atoms are of various categories. And now let us go into motion. Chapter 5, part 1 is motion. Atma samyoga prayatna bhyam haste karma. Now you can see wonderful magic here. There will be motion in the hand only when there is a conjunction of prayatna and with the self. I want to move my hand, so I move my hand. Tada hasta samyogacha musale karma. Suppose there is a stone here and I hit the stone. Suppose this is a stone. Suppose this is a stone and I am moving my hand and I am hitting the stone. So when I hit this stone, what will happen? Hasta samyogat, conjunction of hand on musala, stone. There is karma, motion in the stone. Abhighataje musaladogan. Tada atma. Now what he's saying is Abhighatad musala samyogat haste karma. Now this is a stone and I have hit this stone with my hand. When I hit this stone, there is a motion in the stone. So apart from the movement of stone, there is also a reaction on my hand. That's what he is telling. Haste karma. There is a motion in my hand also, which is the opposite direction. Atma karma hasta samyoga samyoga bhave gurutvat patanam. And the stone is being held on by some object. If there is no such samyoga of object, it will fall down by gurutva, gravitation. The word gravity comes from the word gurutva in Sanskrit. Nodana visesha bhavad nordvanna tiriyak gamana. Without a force, nodana means force. In the absence of a force, neither there will be upward motion nor downward motion. So downward motion patana is giving explained as due to a force, and that is gurutva. Nodana viseshat udamana visesha. Now prayatna viseshat udamana visesha. Nodana viseshat udamana visesha. Prayatna viseshat noda visesha. That is by extra effort, greater force, and greater force leads to greater speed. What is greater speed? Acceleration. So force is proportional to acceleration. Now explosive motion, tada dagdhasya vispotane, and vibratory motion, trinaya karma vayu samyogat, crystal motion, manigamanam such abhisarpanamit adrishtakaranam. Now is ballistic motion, ishava yogapat yoga visesha karmanyatve hetu, nodana ajna karma, tat karma karita cha samskarad uttaram karma tadhottaram cha. When you throw an arrow from a bow, due to the initial force, nodana ajna bhi isho karma, there is a motion in the arrow because of the initial force. Tat karma karita cha, having performed that motion, it will acquire one samskara, which we now call kinetic energy. And samskarat uttaram karma, further motion, tadha uttaram cha, further motion, until gurutvat patanam, it will fall down due to gravitation. So this is ballistic motion. We have studied in our 8th class textbooks. And motions in solids, nodhana bhigata samyukta samyoga cha prithivyam karma. Motion in solids happens either due to a force, impact, or due to conjunction, like an explosion, like gunpowder, it will result in motion. Tad visesh. Liquid state properties, apam samyoga bhave gurutva patanam. If there is no contact for any liquid, it will fall down due to gurutva. Dravatvat syandanam. Liquidity, dravatva, leads to viscous motion, syandanam. Evaporation, nadyo vayu samyogat arohanam. Due to vayu samyoga, contact with vayu and also sun rays, there is evaporation, arohanam. Nodana apedanat samyukta samyoga cha. That evaporation also can happen due to force or due to removal of pressure. Apedanat, that is Boyle's law. Osmotic pressure, how the motion of capillary motion of liquid in trees happens. This is also being referred. Now, apam sanghato vilayanancha tejas samyogat. This dissolution of water or synthesis of water happens in the presence of energy. Tata visphur jaturlingam. The proof of that is water formation due to lightning in the clouds.
How long you may take?
Ipen. Apam samyaga vibhagas tanayitno. So the electrical energy is explained. Apam sanghato vilayanancha tejas samyogat is the explanation given for electrical energy inside the water for either synthesis or dissolution. Unfortunately, our modern day scholars of Sanskrit don't understand all this. So teaching Sanskrit is not adequate. Learning Sanskrit is not adequate. You have to do a mapping, deep analysis to understand science in our scriptures. I finished.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu Garu. You have covered yoga darshana and also introduced Vaisheshika. Thank you for your effort in these 3 days. Do you need more time for this darshanas?
No, I'm done.
You've done it. Okay. Somebody, of course, we will take normal questioning, question answer session. Anybody who wants to raise a question, raise your hand. Badri Narayana is saying, I'm sorry that I am not able to follow follow physics part.
If you cannot follow, I can't help. You have to learn physics.
You have to study physics in that case. Okay, where do we get this book?
Vedic University, I already showed you that.
Vedic University.
Tirupati.
Tirupati. Oh, Tirupati is very famous. You can always get it. And anybody has doubt on this? Where do you get the books or something like that? Namaskaram.
These are not worthy questions. I am expecting some worthy questions.
That's why they didn't come up and asked. They have put it in the chat. Since nobody has raised hand, so I thought I will just read it out. I think tomorrow we will start with the Nyaya. Sorry, what the next topic is? Vimana Shastra.
Yes.
Acha, okay, there are 2 hands. One is Gautamji. Unmute Gautamji.
Namaskar. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Sir, very nice description of physics you have done. And especially, you mentioned, of course, that many sutras are not available today. Maybe they were destroyed somehow. So many years have been passed. And we have to only, as you told, only you have to understand the language, map the languages, like what is motion, what is matter, and so on. So lastly, you mentioned about electrical energy. Did you find anything electrical, how it is generated through chemical reaction and or motion of a magnet, interaction between magnet and electrical conductor? This kind of thing, did you get it?
No, not in Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika, he has mentioned magnet. Yeah, Vaisheshika is a basic principles of physics. So he has mentioned magnet, but Suchi Abhisarpanam, magnetic needle, due to unseen energy. The movement of Suchi Abhisarpanam and also crystal, piezoelectric. So he has mentioned them as unseen forces, Adrushta Akshana.
Yeah.
Vimana Shastra, which we'll cover tomorrow, the advanced devices have been used. DC motor, DC generator, high voltage neutralizer, all these things have been, 13 electrical machines have been described in the Vimana Shastra, not in Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika is basic physics principles text.
Okay, next Narasimham ji wants to ask something. Can you okay.
Sir, namaste, sir. Sir, actually, the connection link between science or physics and Vedanta or philosophy is casuality, karya-karana sambandha. Now, Nyaya or Vaisheshika both stand at Arambhavada. That is, karya is distinct from karana, that is not coexistent. Whereas Sankhya stands at Satkaryavada, where karyam is in karyam and karana are coexistence. That is what Advaita Vedanta takes, need not be Advaita. And there they have Prakriti Parinamavada and Brahma Vivartavada. That is different. That is totally Vedanta. But Satka, which is, but Vaisheshika stand at Arambhavada. That contradicts with what Sankhya says.
No, you see,
Satkaryavada.
All, as I told right in the beginning, all darshanas are independent.
Yes, sir. But actually, we accept Satkaryavada.
No. You know what? You have to be a Roman in Rome. Every darshana is independent. It is not dependent on other darshanas. Please
Okay,
remember.
sir, but actually physics, from standpoint of physics,
Yeah.
is Karyakarana is both physics deal with casualty, and also Vedanta is concerned about casualty.
No, keep aside Vedanta. Talk only Vaiseshika. Causality is not casualty. Casualty means a death section in hospital. It is causality. Causality.
Pronunciation different. Causality.
Principle of causality. Karana bhavat karya bhavaha. Natu karya bhavat karana bhavaha. Immediately he says, without karya, karana can exist. And sat akaranavat nityam. The original existence, sat, is akarana. It has no karanas for it, but it could be the original karana. That is why we are identifying sat as equivalent of Brahman or equivalent of Ishvara, which has no cause, but all causes come out of it, and the entire cause karana chain will come later. Sat akaranavat nityam, he has said it, and he has also said karana bhavat karya bhava immediately. Natu karya bhavat karana bhava. There can be a karana which is the original karana without any karya. That also he has admitted. Okay, let us stop there, because we go by inside Vaiseshika, we will conform to Vaiseshika. We will not mix with Vedanta and Sankhya. It will make no sense. For example, in Sankhya, there are no dravyas. That's the point I already told you. In Sankhya, only Panchabhutas are there. They are coming as Panchendriyas, as they arise in the mind. That's all. They don't, Sankhya does not accept the existence of a material substance outside the mind. Whereas here in Vaiseshika, a substance is being recognized, which is fundamental requirement for physics and science. So the existence of a substance, dravya, which is independent of the Sankhya model. So every Vaiseshika evolved on its own. Every darshana evolved on its own. It's not dependent on the previous darshana.
Okay. Can you explain physics on how a
Shandilia
person becomes
Garu
invisible?
wants to ask a question, Karnaji.
1 minute.
I have unmuted. Yeah.
1 minute, Sandilya ji, 8 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you explain physics on how a person becomes invisible by practicing yoga?
I have already explained that Yoga Sutra there. The invisibility is by intervention into the optic information of the observer. The fellow will cut that by his yogic intervention in the observer. The fellow is there only, but the fellow cannot see. And again, he goes away and again he'll see. So don't again mix up. The Yoga Siddhis cannot be explained in terms of Vaiseshika. They are too advanced. There are only 2 sutras which are linking yoga with Vaiseshika. In Vaiseshika Sutras, in later chapters, he has referred to yoga. Atmastha yoga. Being in yourself is yoga. That he has mentioned, except that there is no connection. Vaiseshika does not talk about how these siddhis are performed, but he refers to yogic powers. Some people have this, he says, very few, of course. It is not possible to explain yogic siddhis in terms of physics as of today.
Okay, thank you. And Sandilya ji?
Yes. Namaskar, Prabhu Garu.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. You said moksha is possible through physics.
Yes.
On the other hand, one day you said our physical nature is
Yes.
obstacle.
Both are true. You are not understood.
How
I'll explain.
we relate with this, that how we can get moksha through our physical body?
No. I have not said you'll get through physical body. Through understanding of physics. What Kanada told, Dharma Vishesha Prasuta Dravya Guna Karma Samanya Vishesha Samavayanam Padarthanam Sadharmya Vaidharmyabhyam Tattvajnanat Nisres. Your moksha will be through Tattvajnana, please, not through physical body.
but a body is also physical.
No. Don't mix up things. See, he said tattva jnanat nisresam. Jnana, tattva jnana of what? Of dravya, guna, karma, samanya, vishesha, samavaya. So in those dravyas, Atma is also there. Prithvi, apas, tejo, vayu, rakasham, dik, kala, mana, Atma, iti dravyani. Ninth last is Atma itself. So by understanding each dravya, including Atma, self-realization, then you get moksha.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you for the question answer session, and it is well received. And now I think we have finished with Darshanas. Tomorrow we will go for Vimana Shastra. Now we will have Prarthana from Shalashmi Mahodaya, and then Janaganamana.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karne Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pasyemakshaphiryejatraha Sthirairangai Stishtvagum Sastanubhihi Vyasema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vruthasrevaha Swastina Pusha Visvavedaha Swastina Starkyo Arishtanemihi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Sarve Santu Niramayaha. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swasti.
Dhanyavada Mahodaya. All
Babu Garu has come.
yeah, CC Babu Garu has come, and can you speak, Babu Garu?
Yeah, I made him co-host also.
Is there some problem with this speaker, I think? CC
I've
Babu.
unmuted him.
You know. So let us now have Janaganamana.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्ज्वल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Very good.
जय हिंद
Salute.
जय हिंद